Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at The Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Real Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright, and today, Hulk always comes out on top.
That's right. Today we are talking about Minute 101, which begins with Loki's periodic reminder about the Chitauri, and ends with Tony acknowledging Loki's army may, in fact, exist. Back on the show, we have MarvelousTay from TwitchTV. Hello.
Hello. Long time no see. I feel like we haven't talked in
long. It's been way too long. All right. We are coming in, continuing our conversation, the confrontation of egos between Tony and Loki. This is, we kind of cut off in minute 100 with Loki talking about the Chitauri, once again, reminding people that they're coming. And then, of course, Tony responds, this is where we get the title of the film in dialogue. Pete, your favorite thing, Tony says, The Avengers. It's what we call ourselves.
You know, I've decided that if Tony Stark says it, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
This doesn't bug me at all, when he says it. And it's the name of the team, right? And also, we get the Earth's Mightiest Heroes drop, which is also fantastic.
It's great. And it's perfect that he said that because he was the only one that kept pushing away. He wanted nothing to do with it. It was still salty that they, the Shield calls him not easy to play with. So he was all like, oh, you hurt my feelings. That was my ego. You just tarnished it. Thank you. And now he finally accepts that he is a part of a boy band. With one girl. It is a boy band, which is an added, BA kind of a Chiquita, like, and go hard on the bass. He finally accepts it and goes, all right, I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Well, the way that he says it also is like, yeah, I'm in it. And it's kind of a little dismissive, like, yeah, I know it's kind of a lame thing, but, I've fully accepted it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also makes it so perfect.
And we don't have any traction. It'll take us a while to get any traction. I just love how low-key he is about the whole thing. It's really, really funny.
It's perfect for him.
I think all of that plays into exactly the way he is doing this, the confrontation with Loki, where he's coming about it in a way where, again, he's saying he's threatening him, but it hasn't been very threatening. And even here, he's not, he's threatening him, but in the least threatening ways. Like, yeah, it's kind of this, this thing that we have. We're still trying to get traction. It's so dismissive of the whole thing while being really, as you said in minute 100, Pete, the idea that he's telling him exactly what they have and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And he lays it all out.
This is something we talked about when Tony was just on the helicarrier for the first time, and he was walking around the bridge, and he was putting the little hacking listening devices on all the computers, but he was doing so in such a gregarious and kind of lackadaisical way that, I feel like I likened that to Drunken Master, right? This is Tony's kung fu. I'm going to do a thing right in front of your face, and you're not even going to know it's happening until it's done. And I think that's just the magic of the consistency of Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of this character, that it continues to develop, and he uses his tool again and again and again. It's the equivalent of your favorite Black Widow's tears. That it's like this is his superpower. He has the suit, but his superpower is kind of like misleading charisma.
Which is similar to what Loki does, which is great.
Yeah.
Why they do understand each other, as they do have similar qualities.
Which is interesting because at the same time, because of that, Loki also doesn't recognize what Tony is actually doing. His ego, his belief, his overconfidence is too big that he can't understand that Tony actually has this ulterior motive, which he's trying to do by putting these bracelets on and kind of getting himself ready to suit up to go at him.
Oh yeah, and Tony knows exactly where to strike him. And the first thing he says, and this is just why I think the writing was great, he brings up Thor first. Yeah. That was the first thing he brings up. And he knows that will take him off instantaneously. and you can see it, which I loved how Tom Hiddleston did it. He's just kind of like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
right.
Well, especially you're right, because he calls him your brother first and then the demigod, right? Because your family crap is more important even than all the stuff you're trying to do here, right?
Yes.
You have issues with your brother, and that's going to be an undoing.
Right. And without Tony really knowing this, but at the same time, if Thor is upset, Daddy's gonna be extra mad. So you make his favorite son mad. Especially the actions, what happens in Thor. I mean, oh, he's mad.
It is such a smart way to kind of set him off right away. And as you said, just kind of that look that Tom Hiddleston does there. It's just like, it is so perfect that like, oh God, that guy, he just won't stop being the thorn in my side perpetually. It's just perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and no doubt about it, this is a superpower of Tig Notaro, is writing dialogue like this, right? Like, this is what he does better than so many, is making sure that we can communicate a lot in a little and doing it out of the side of your face, right? Like, this is fantastic wit.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect because it has still that big brother, small, little brother personality as like, oh, the big one, everyone's favorite. And here's me on the sidelines. Like, and this is Loki's moment. Like, okay, now I'm the big brother, and Tony is rubbing my big brother in my face right when I'm having my moment. This is it. I'm about to rule the universe, and you're taking that away from me.
Yeah.
By saying that one word, your brother.
Still can't live up to.
Yeah.
This, right.
And then he goes into the super soldier, a living legend who kind of lives up to the legend. And what was interesting, I just was reading something that Robert Downey Jr. had said about like his character's reaction to Steve Rogers in this film, because we've talked about it a lot over the course of like since they came together, and how like there is this angle that Tony really seems irritated and like unsure, like what did people see in you? Why are you this guy that people looked up to? Like he always has some gripe about Steve all through this. And what Robert Downey Jr. had actually said about the way that he was playing the character and the way that he saw it is that he saw, or that Tony sees Steve as the big brother that he can never quite live up to.
No.
And interestingly, like in this moment of talking about brothers, he talks about, Loki's brother first, and then he brings up Steve. And this is exactly how it is in these situations. Like when he's talking to Steve, there's more abrasiveness in his dialogue because it's that brotherly thing of butting heads. Mm-hmm. But here, when he's talking to Loki about him, he's really like being honest about like, this is how I see this person who I see as this brother of mine. He is this legend, and he kind of lives up to that. And I actually think that there's like that great delineation in the way that he's portraying Steve in this particular situation here.
Oh, it's perfect because, in a sense, both Loki and Tony, both their brothers are not really related. In a sense, they're not related. They're both distant. But once again, Tony, without really knowing, understands Loki's, personality and why he is the way he is and why he has this big ego. Because as his father, kept hyping up Thor the entire childhood, and he needed to build that ego to be seen. And that's same with Tony. He needed that big ego to be seen higher than Steve, that Howard kept like, oh, Captain America, my first love or whatever. He needed that ego to kind of counteract that, big love and praise that the other have given.
Yeah.
It's quite great, honestly. Once again, writing's fantastic.
Yeah. And this is an interesting, also just it's an interesting moment, the way that Tony brings in Thor, Captain America, Hulk, or Bruce, the man with breathtaking anger management issues, the two master assassins. Like he kind of lists everybody, but it's interesting, and I find it to be an interesting methodology that he has in pitching this to Loki, knowing that Bruce fell off the ship. Thor fell off the ship. At this point, he really doesn't know if either of them are alive. If they are, will they actually be joining them? So there's like this level of, we've been talking about egos and everything. There's this level of braggadocio also that he has, where as far as he knows, it's only him, Steve, Natasha, and Clint that are coming. But I do think that it's so interesting that he uses them in his spin against Loki right here.
It's funny, too, that he doesn't, like, I mean, I totally get that. It's another one of those, like, sleight of hand bits, especially his last line. I thought the beast had wandered off. Here's Loki calling him on it. And the first thing he says is, yeah, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Which is, like, Tony, at some level, just like he has confidence that Jarvis is going to have the Mark 7 ready, has confidence that at some point, everybody's going to come back together. I feel like that's one of the things that we're getting out of this speech, that is, if he's going to out himself as a member of the Avengers, he has to have some level of confidence that the Avengers will be a thing, right?
Yeah, trust and confidence.
Yeah, even though in his litany of Avengers, he does seem to toss off a couple of massive what does he say, of master assassins, like, you know, everybody else gets a big line, but Clint and Natasha don't seem to get a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Clint and Natasha are also present.
which is hilarious as Clint, if you go through the history of Marvel. I know every fan knows this, but whenever Clint's in one of the other teams, they end up winning, and if Clint's not there, they end up losing.
Nobody has ever brought that up.
Really?
Oh, nobody is. I don't think anybody's ever brought that up.
If you go through the entire Infinity Saga, you look at the tally rank of, like, okay, when Hawkeye was in this one, they won. When he's not, they lost. Even in Civil War, he was on the winning team. So he has been winning every time, and especially in this movie, he takes the Avengers down. Like, it's nothing. The guy's wicked smart. Like, I don't understand how they undermined him, because he is intelligent little dude.
He's made the brunt of so many jokes, and that's the funny thing. Like, to your point, it's made even funnier that he's actually useful. Yeah. He's practically useful. When he doesn't even seem to have that confidence himself.
No. Yeah, right. But every time he's in a war, he ends up it's a winning. Every time.
That's really funny.
It's hilarious. Just like Infinity War, he wasn't there and they lost. And Endgame, they won.
This is actually also the point where Tony kind of reveals to Loki, and I'm surprised Loki doesn't say anything, but he reveals to Loki that he's not under your mind control anymore. That didn't come up at all, but I guess it's
that's
when he brings that up, like, it's interesting that Loki doesn't, like, there's not a reaction shot of, like, oh, you know, because
it's that first line he says in that first second, that minute, is that, you know, the Chitauri tribe is coming. What do I have to fear?
Yeah.
The big baddies is now here, and he knows that with that tribe, really with that one, it doesn't matter if he has Hulk on his team or not, it's over. You know, they are an aggressive tribe.
Yeah.
They believe, their mindset, they believe that they are the immune system of the universe. They believe that they can cleanse it, which is quite funny because in the comics, they do help the Nazis in World War II to give them tech.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a different Chitauri in the comics, right? It's they're shapeshifters. Yeah.
So they do believe that they can cure the entire universe, which is what also Thanos also believes as well, why they kind of worked well with each other. And especially after Thanos, at least in the book that I mentioned last episode. Great read.
Because we'll see them again in, let's see, I'm trying to remember where else we see the Chitauri other than here. We see them with Thanos, they're cleansing, quote.
Wakanda Forever, Wakanda War, the war on Wakanda.
Well, Wakanda for sure, but it's when he gets Gamora's homeworld, right?
Yes, in Infinity War.
That's the Chitauri that he's with, correct?
Yeah, because so in the book, like I said, in the book, which once again, please read it. It really shines so much light in this entire like MCU story with Thanos.
Remind us again what the name of it is.
It was called Thanos Titan Consumes by Barry Liga, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Great to read. I loved it. he ends up meeting up with them after battling some peeps in Asgard was weak. They end up seeing that they both have similar ideologies, and they team up. Then it's like, help me conquer the universe to clean it, and I'll help you find a planet that fits your needs. And that's what they end up doing. They kept going, each and every one, cleansing, helping the universe, making it perfect. And they tag along the entire time to the point where they got so close that you can see the evolution of Thanos' fighting skills. He actually uses them because they're a hive mind. He actually uses them to train himself to get even more powerful. And then what you see with the Outriders and Wakanda, the war in Wakanda, they're actually a mix between his blood and the Chitauri tribe blood. And that's why they are so insane, because they're like runts. He just made them to kind of put him in the forefront and just let him go to get the one team weakened so that he can put the rest of the Chitauri tribe in there. That was the whole plan.
Huh, interesting.
That's bonkers to me that we have none of that. You described that and it feels like this is a completely different thing. They might as well be called something totally different.
The read is amazing because it breaks down how he meets them, what was the reason, and what was their purpose. And it breaks the whole thing down and why we got what we got. Please read it.
I will put the link for it in the show notes so people can just click on that and check it out.
You can get on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Cool.
Wow.
We do see Tony put these bracelets on here covertly. These are Kolantote bracelets. They are actually bracelets that you can buy. It's the Mag Titan Eneo Legend bracelet that is this specific one. These are these magnetic bracelets that a lot of people wear, kind of like it's kind of a quote medical device that some people say can improve your health because you're wearing these magnets and on your wrists. And so there's a whole variety of these, but their website, they have necklaces, bracelets, all sorts of stuff that you can a lot of athletes will wear these. But yeah, these are actual bracelets that you can find out there, and they're really not that expensive. So in the scope of things that I've looked at that Tony has purchased, that he has laying around, this is actually surprisingly affordable.
Unlike those glasses, man. Those glasses.
Yeah. The glasses that he's drinking with?
No, that and the sunglasses that he wears.
Oh, yes.
Both are expensive.
Sunglasses are a thing. The glasses, though, this whiskey glass is actually not that expensive. So if you want to buy a pair of them, they're about $26 on Amazon. They're called Maketh the Man Crystal Whiskey Glasses.
I was surprised that he didn't whip out Louis the 13th as the guy that is a billionaire. He didn't have the billionaire whiskey.
Yeah.
On the Louis the 13th. I was like, you're really...
Well, I mean, they just moved in to the top level. Maybe they're still rocking some IKEA replacement furniture.
And I was looking at his drink selection and stuff, and it was interesting because so many of them are just in decanters. So it's I think that they, unlike the first Iron Man, where you could go through his the bottles on his shelf, and you're like, okay, that's thousands and thousands of dollars that he has for all those. But this is it's just the prop department said, here's just some colored water in a bottle. Don't have to worry about it.
Which drives me insane because I'm an Italian, so I see the canter with the wine in it, and it's you're just gonna leave open a wine that long, like a dust. You just gotta let it sit there.
That's breathing. It shouldn't breathe that much.
It's breathing forever. Just pour it out at this point. Grab that. You're wasting a good bottle of wine for nothing. Gosh. It bothered me. But next to that, though, I was watching this minute. Next to that, there's a picture of Tony and Pepper and Iron Man 2 in Monte Carlo. There's a little picture of them. I thought that was really cute, as that was the blossoming of their relationship.
Yeah.
You can see right in the little corner.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's so nice that they have that picture of the two of them in there. That's awesome.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I said that was the starting point. That was him slowly catching some feelings. He was like, all right, I know you work for me and this is probably not be good for HR, but
it's all HR.
Yeah. Darn HR.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's perfect.
That's funny.
It's a great little moment that we have here, this whole exchange. And we haven't really even talked about it. I mean, one of the iconic lines of this particular minute is Loki saying, I have an army, and Tony's response, we have a Hulk. I mean, talk about iconic lines from I mean, geez, I think if you ranked probably like the top 10 lines from the entire MCU. I think probably Tony says a lot of them, but this has to be one of them. Like, I just feel like this is way up there.
Did this end up in the trailer? Was this a trailer line?
No, there's not. I don't think
it did, but it feels like it. It feels like it should have been.
Maybe or maybe not.
It feels like a giveaway to put it in the trailer. Yeah,
I would agree. But for me, it's this line was perfect because he didn't pick up his brother. Like, we have Thor. He brings up Hulk because the whole time in the copter, he wanted Hulk to be controlled. That was his game. He wanted that. He wanted the mad green man to be under his control so he can cause chaos. And he failed. He failed to do that thanks to Black Widow. So Tony loved to rub that in his face, be like, all right, you have an army and that's cute, but we got the one thing that you couldn't get. That was your first mission.
Well, and I think that maybe secondary to that is the fact that this is the first time in the MCU we have a mention that this is a Hulk, not the Hulk.
Yes.
That feels important to me for a couple of reasons, not the least of which we have no hint that other Hulks exist at this point in the MCU.
Thunderbolt.
Well, right, but like they never called Abomination a Hulk, right? No. Is that what he's referring to? That we have one of two?
Maybe. I mean, technically he is in a weird way, but he's not. That's just not his name, in a sense.
Right. And I think that, I mean, I think you're reading a little more into it than likely there was. I think the scripted is like they're building the phrasing of it to we have a blank, we have a blank. I just feel like it's part of the phrasing of it. I don't think it wouldn't have sounded as good if Tony's response after Loki says, I have an army, for Tony to say, we have Hulk.
Well, the Hulk. We have the Hulk. It's all true. It's all about his articles, right? Like, articles matter.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it's an article or is it his name? Like, when he changes, he's just Hulk, right? It's not like we have the Iron Man.
I think he is Bruce Hulk, and you should start referring to him that way.
We have Bruce Hulk.
Bruce Hulk.
With a hyphen. There's a little hyphen in there.
Fix it for you. Yeah. Yep.
But, I do...
It's actually Hulk Banner. Bruce Hulk Banner.
That's true. That's true.
Mr. Bruce Hulk Banner to you.
Exactly.
That's Mr. Bruce.
I will say in this entire dialogue of him rubbing, threatening Loki, I love if you can listen to the voice change when he starts exiting the bar, where he's all cuddly and then he goes straight monotone.
Yeah.
And just then that threatening voice comes to play. And then the line which makes me laugh now watching is where there's no point of view where you come out on top. But then Endgame happened. And it's like, well, technically he does.
Yeah.
You just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to your cleanliness. So.
Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting point with kind of the way that things change over the course of it. But, I don't know. I guess in the scope of this story, he doesn't come out on top of just this story. But
it is his character to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Which he gets scared when Phil says that to him. And then when Tony says it again, that's why his anger went, oh, I have an army. Like, okay, yeah, you think I fail. Well, I have an army. And that's why he says, well, we have a Hulk.
Yeah.
Because then Loki hears it again, but with Iron Man or with Tony. And he's like, great. Man, I got two people that think I'm not going to win this. I'm not going to prove this again.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, the very next thing, which we don't see in this minute, but will happen in tomorrow's minute. I mean, that's when he takes his scepter and tries to turn Tony. And yeah, I think at this point in the conversation, I think there is some of that where it is that, there is some fear behind Loki's reactions to what Tony is saying. And so, yeah, just like Tony, he's got the wheels turning in his head. How can I use this to my advantage? I'll tap him with the scepter and I'll have him join me. And so there's always those different things that he's doing. And that's absolutely the next thing that he's working on here.
And the entire scene throughout, he is terrified because one by one, Tony's knocking him down and taking out all of his weaknesses and putting them on the playing field. He is just like, and he's not saying it verbally. But he's doing it in a weird way where he's wording it just perfect for Loki to pick up that he is now caught in a catch-22, and you're in huge trouble, kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I think it goes back to yesterday when Loki's wandering the bridge, like he's just wandering the tower. At that point, I sort of get the feeling that Loki would have loved to have seen or expected to see the Chitauri pouring out of the sky and the battle happen around him, right? And that's when you have Tony in this minute say, "There is no throne." It kind of recalls for me that Loki may see Stark Tower as his throne in this new world order, and all of those assumptions are being tested now that he's being reminded that his brother and Mr. Bruce Hulk and all of these people stand against him, and that maybe he's going to have to get involved at a level he didn't expect to get involved, and hence we see him getting involved.
Oh yeah, which makes terrified.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting element here because there will be a lot of this conversation about like now that the Chitauri are about to show up and start their invasion of Earth. What is Loki going to do? And there is this element that makes you think his intentions are just to stand here and watch. But because of everything that's going to happen, he is going to have to get involved, and he is going to have to really, hop on those chariots and race around and try doing some stuff himself too. So it does mean he is going to have to get his hands dirtier than he probably was intending.
Yes.
And like I said from yesterday, what makes it terrifying, thanks to that book that I mentioned many times, little that Loki knows. He doesn't know that Thanos and the tribe made a deal.
Yeah, right.
That he was going to give him a warm-blooded planet. So does that mean, like I said, I think in my mind that Earth was going to be the planet that Thanos was going to give them. Yeah. And that means, in a sense, that Loki was just a pawn in his play, which he does mention in Infinity War, that he was just a pawn.
Right.
And that he meant nothing. And that's what even scarier. If Avengers did lose, what would have happened?
Yeah.
There still wouldn't be no throne.
Yeah, right, exactly. And with the Chitauri, like, do they kill everybody? Do they eat everybody? Like, do they use us as food? Do they use us as slaves? Like, what is their intention?
Is that explored in the book? That the Chitauri actually eat all their victims?
No, they don't. I mean, they are like a bug reptile, like cyborg mix. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, right.
But
wow,
giant cockroaches.
Dark story.
But it's true. It's without Tony knowing, there is legitimately no throne for him. And he does learn that throughout his entire life that, even now during Loki, the TV show, there's never a spot for him.
No, he never landed.
No.
And he has to accept that. And that's hard for him to do. And that's why he gets so angry in this scene.
Yeah.
And you can see it. The blood is, the blood's starting to boil. Like we're on center and then it's going to go medium. And then boom, all hands off deck.
Yep, exactly.
Oh.
Awesome.
Any last things with this minute, or should we wrap this episode up?
The only thing I didn't mention is that in the Stark Tower, the rock material is actually called Umpire Rock, which is the same material in Central Park. Because I used to live in New York, and I noticed that. I did.
You're talking about the floor or the like?
No, like where he walks in that balcony, see all those walls. And
the walls, sure.
That's called Umpire Rock, which is one of the most heaviest materials in New York. And we are grounded on that. There's a lot of it on the level.
Yeah.
He uses.
That's
as fantastic. The Stark Tower is the grounding point of New York City. Just like material.
Look at that.
I love that. That is very
cool. Look at
cool.
what you just did.
I know.
That's amazing.
I try.
It's all those little details, though, that I think makes these fun to explore when you find those sorts of things out. So very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Also, it's perfect even for Tony, as he also is the rock and hold of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for joining us again today.
You're coming back, right? When are you coming back?
Oh, gosh. I think for 132?
130 and 132. Yeah, we've got you for 2 more episodes.
Okay.
Right toward the very end of things. So very much looking forward to those.
End of stuff.
I love it. Cannot wait.
Remind everybody again about what you're doing over on Twitch.
So I do Marvel Mondays with MarvelousTay, which I break down TV shows, movies to make it easier for people that don't understand or they're lost. I help you understand because it's very confusing right now in this phase of Kang's destiny. It's very confusing.
Not just Kang's destiny or dynasty, but his destiny. Like, what is going to happen to the character in the real life, in the real world? So we shall see. Well, no kidding. Well, check that out over on TwitchTV, everybody. We'll be back with Taylor, as we said, in minute 130. We'll have a different guest tomorrow. So, Pete, thanks as always.
Tomorrow, you guys, we're going to talk about Andy's breathtaking performance issues, if you know what I mean.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.